Ladies and gentlemen, this is IFDF interview with Monica Torres. Roll one, scene one, take one.
Hi, my dear. How are you?
Hi, Beatriz. I'm doing well.
Good.
Glad to be here.
Excelente. Como me gusta. Que un gusto me da. So I'm Beatriz, and I'm here with
Monica Torres
from
Phoenix, Arizona.
and Miss Cold Hands Host, mostly known on Instagram, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And Next Gen Mortuary support.
Yes, that's correct.
So I'll be selfish if I don't admit and say that the reason why I attended IFDF Student Day last year was to see your presentation. And if it wasn't for that opportunity that I had last year, I wouldn't be here now. So thank you very much.
Well, it's my honor to be here.
I love it. Thank you. So this conversation is just some questions that have been my noggin, and hopefully they are questions that I can cover for everyone else out there, just so that we can know you outside of the embalming room.
Love it.
Excellent. So your studio officially opened. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And you recently had your women's retreat. How did that go?
The women's retreat was a total success. It was a transformative event. We really connected on a deeper level outside of the prep room. We did have some training, but we didn't focus in on embalming. The retreat was really focused on battling compassion fatigue and PTSD, dealing with distress, specifically after the pandemic, and work-life balance for morticians.
So let's talk about that. How can we, as not just morticians, but also funeral directors, how can we better handle stress when meeting with families, even after the pandemic and moving forward? What's your best advice in that?
I would say for me, it's been a journey because I'm right there along with everyone else. I'm trying to maneuver through this really uncomfortable space. And I think the best way that I've been able to battle it is to name my fear. So I've actually given my fear a name. And so I feel that anxiety and that fear coming up at certain times. I have a hard time decompressing, and I talk to it like I have a relationship with it. And I've named my fear the fear. When it's easier for me to express myself with my family and my friends when I'm struggling. But I've also started to research ways to decompress that are healthy, trying to avoid alcohol and overeating. Those are like the two, I think, big ones for me. So I've been practicing what's called box breathing.
Oh.
And I created this program for the retreat that was called Grounding in the Graveyard.
Okay.
And part of that Grounding in the Graveyard program was teaching other morticians how to box breathe. So we practice box breathing in the graveyard. And that's one of the ways that has been really helpful for me. It's not a cure-all. I still am struggling, but it's definitely helped me to move forward in my journey towards healing.
So explain a little bit, what is box breathing? If you don't
Box
mind.
breathing, there's different types of breath work.
Okay.
And I'm still a student myself, I might say.
Is it like yoga?
It's not like yoga. It's all done through your nose and your mouth. And it's basically using your breath to control your emotions and feelings of distress.
Okay.
So I've combined grounding, which there's a couple of different ways to ground, but the way that I've used it is to ground myself to the earth or some object, which
Right.
we used headstones in the graveyard to do that. And then you practice box breathing, which is it's a 4-step process where you breathe in for 4, you hold at the top for 4, you breathe out for 4, and you hold at the bottom for 4. And it's like a square. And if it's done properly and if you're grounded, it does bring you back to center.
Yeah, it centers you.
It does. It
does
centers
center.
you.
So that's amazing. So are there any future retreats coming up?
Yes, I hope so. I hope that we're going to be able to offer another one in September.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Same location or?
Same location, absolutely. The location that we had hosted the retreat at is at the Buttes in Phoenix. It's
Right.
about 15 minutes from the airport. It's super, super easy to get to, and you feel like you're in an oasis in the desert.
Yes, it was a beautiful spot.
It's a beautiful spot, and there's a cemetery connected to the resort. So it's just perfect for the type of theme that we're going for, and this retreat that's being offered for morticians to battle compassion fatigue and PTSD and distress. It really is a perfect kind of a spot.
So going a little bit more intimate now.
Okay.
In previous presentations and in interviews, you have mentioned your father's passing and how you have used that as your motivation as being a mortician and the influencer that you are today in being so. But coming from a Hispanic household, you know how mommy is. Ay, mija, that doesn't scare you?
Yes, it is. It is culturally, I think it's important to address that. So I'm glad you brought that up because there is some sort of cultural taboo.
Absolutely.
When it comes to, I think, not just Latinos, but like people of color, where there is this kind of sense that, oh, it's spooky.
Exactly.
It's scarier. Like on another level, though, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like you're going into the realm of the other side, or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
How do you sleep at night?
Yes, like my family for the longest times they were thinking like spirits were like following me home or something. But yeah, I think there's definitely that element, culturally speaking, that it's a little different, and we do. What is the word I'm looking for? The superstition.
Exactly.
Is so strong, and it's so there. It's still really in my family. It's strong. My grandma forgot about it. Like she's probably willing to agree.
Oh yeah. My grandmother, I'm sure she would go through the rosary 8 times.
Yes. Yes. But
so
to me, like it's science to me.
It is. Yeah. It is what it is. It's our calling, as they call it.
It is.
So previously, you were a cosmetologist. How did that transition from a cosmetologist to who you are today start? Like, did you wake up one day and did you just say, oh, I'm going to stop cosmetology and I'm going to be a mortician? How was that? How was that transition?
That's a good question. I started out with my first business. I opened a salon and spa.
Okay.
Nail tech. I'm a nail tech. I'm still a nail tech.
So originally that was your focus?
Originally that was my focus. And I started that. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And when I started college, I come from a big Mexican family. So, there wasn't money to go around for all the kids. Like you had to either get a scholarship or you figure out a way to pay for your own school. So that was my avenue that I saw that I could pay for my college. I thought, okay, I'll open a business, I'll do nails and work my way through school. And that's exactly what I did. At the time, I was really focused on tourism and event planning. And that's what I got my bachelor's in.
Oh.
So that's why these retreats are really natural for me because this is what I have my background in. Well, I thought, I was young. I'm like, I want to travel and do tourism and, all these great events. And then I got married and I did travel around with my husband at the time. He was a pilot in the military.
Oh, wow.
And so we traveled quite a bit. So I traveled in a different sense. After we separated and got divorced, my mom came to me and she was like, you know what are you going to do? Like, this is a new chapter for you.
That loaded question. What are you going to do?
What's next?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I could still go back and do cosmetology and do nails and all that. But I am a life learner. And I had already had this interest in mortuary science. Every base that we lived at, there was a mortuary nearby.
Oh, that was a sign.
There was a mortuary nearby. And I used to think, because I had a really hard time getting a job as a military wife. And I used to think, I bet you they would hire me there.
It's real. That struggle is real.
Yeah. I was like, I bet you if I went in there, they would hire me there. And it just kind of bled over, and I started thinking about it seriously after I got out of, after I moved back home to Arizona. And my mom said, yeah, you were born for this. Like, you've been collecting dead stuff since you were little. Like, I was always out poking dead frogs or dead little rabbits or...
Experimenting.
Since I was little, yeah. So she's like, this is perfect for you. And so I took the plunge, and I did not look back. And I have no regrets.
No regrets.
That's how I ended up where I am. That background in cosmetology has definitely served me well in this field.
And bravo in that, I say.
Yeah, I would recommend that to any future mortician. Yeah.
Let's talk about mortuary students, if you don't mind. When you look back as being a mortuary student for funeral directing or embalming, either or, did you experience burnout at some time? Like, is it worth it? Am I going to make it? Like, I'm really struggling here. What is your advice?
Through Mortuary College?
Through Mortuary College. What is your advice in experience, having that feeling? Because we can all admit and attest and say, like, once you're halfway through it, you're like, oh my God, is it even worth it anymore? Like, what's your advice on that?
So my personal experience was I really struggled with embalming chemistry. That's where I struggled. And I was at a point where I was like, I don't think I'm going to graduate because I can't pass chemistry. Well, I'm not a quitter.
No, we see that.
I'm not a quitter. And I was like, you know what? What are my resources? What opportunities do I have? And I'm a strong believer that if you don't have opportunities presented for you,
Absolutely.
that you create your own opportunities. And that's exactly what I did. I reached out to my fellow students, the ones that I knew that were getting A's. I noticed every week, I'm like looking at people's papers. Oh, she got an A.
I need to be your friend.
Yeah, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
That's what I did. My friend and Sarah Bass, I went to Mortuary College with her. I buddied up with her, and we became really good friends, lifelong friends. But without her help, I wouldn't have passed embalming chemistry. And you just have to buckle down and commit to it. And now, look, it's my strong.
It's your strong suit
Now.
You know it back and forth.
Yeah. So I would say, don't give up. If you don't have opportunities or resources, reach out and find the resources, find the opportunities for yourself because they are there.
Like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Phone a friend.
Phone a friend.
Phone a friend. So recently you shared in social media that you went to learn more about human composting.
Yeah.
Tell us your thoughts on that.
Yes. Well, like I said, I am a life learner. I really am passionate about our profession as a whole. And I'm at the point now where I've been kind of beating this dead horse with my parents about, hey, you guys have to plan. Don't leave us like this. We have 6 kids in our family. This is going to be really tough.
Absolutely.
But how can I tell my parents that when I don't have my affairs in order? Right? Because they're looking at me. I'm the one that's supposed to be the model here for this. So I thought, you know what? I really am. I'm going to do all the research that I can to find out what it truly is, what is out there, what do I want? But more importantly, what is going to work for my family?
Exactly.
Because, yes, I may say, oh, I want to be composted. But at the end of the day, my family is very deeply rooted in traditional funeral service.
Especially Hispanic.
Especially my family that we're Latinos, and it's just, that's our tradition, and it's done a certain way. And that brings peace.
Exactly.
So do I want to step out and create this alternative experience for my family that is great for myself and my friends and my colleagues, or do I want to offer my family something that they're familiar with in a time that is very unfamiliar?
Exactly. Going into the unknown, that is a huge punch to the gut for them.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I went, I researched the composting. It's gorgeous, that Katrina
facility.
Space. Oh my gosh. It's such a neat, cool space. I can't express how neat and interesting and forward thinking it is. It's really great. But I started thinking it through, and I thought, well, what is my family going to do with that huge box of soil?
Yeah.
Because they're all city folks. My family they're all from the city.
Yep.
So that's something we have to think about. And then I started to think about as well, well, what if I died when I'm in my 80s or 90s? I don't have kids. My nephews and my nieces.
Or what's left.
Yeah, they're going to be like, well, what do we do with our old, creepy aunt that had all these Dobermans? You know what I mean? It's like old mortician aunt. Do we, maybe they do just want to get the direct cremation. You know what I mean? It's just them there. So I think it depends, right? I feel like you have to have more than one scenario. It's not well, I want it when I die, I want this. Okay, but what happens if you get in a car accident?
Exactly.
Right? Because if you get in a car accident and you have a traumatic death, it's not necessarily going to be the same. No. You can't just say, well, I want to have a green burial, or I want this, or I want that. There's feelings involved.
Absolutely.
Those traumatic deaths, those are the times when the families want to see. They want to say goodbye. And the only way a lot of times that we can do that is through embalming.
They want their closure.
So yeah, that's what I found on my journey. And on this journey towards planning my own funeral is that it really depends on the type of death. So I've kind of narrowed it down to like 4 or 5 different instances. Hopefully I have a good death and I can die in my bed in some
I know, right?
Egyptian cotton sheets with my Doberman by my side, some wind chimes, the ocean air breeze, right?
The ideal passing.
The ideal passing. But if I don't, I have a plan for that too.
Absolutely.
So I recommend everybody think that through. It's been a challenge for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we know you love to talk to mortuary students and have their insight on things, what their experience has been. And you going back into being a mortuary student as well, what are some things that you would change in the schooling looking back and now that you've applied it in real world time and you're like, school didn't teach me this or school didn't talk about this? What are some things that, in your opinion, you could apply and make it the Monica way? I
don't know if I would necessarily change anything that they're teaching in the school because...
Or perfect it.
Yeah, because I truly believe that the mortuary science schools are... Their goal is to get us to pass the national board exam. It's not their responsibility to teach us how to embalm like an expert or how to compost bodies or how to become a, cremation expert.
The top cremationist.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not their job. Their job is to get us through the national board, which they're doing. So I want to put that back on the students and say, what are you doing to invest in yourself and your education?
Perfect.
You have this program that you're in, and now you're taking your national board. Now it's up to you. You can't expect the colleges to teach you how to be a professional. And the professionals that are working in the field, they don't have time. They're meeting families. They're embalming bodies. These people are busy. You know this. The students that are learning, you'll see how fast-paced this business is. But there are people like myself and other organizations that are putting out education now for you, but you have to see value in yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You have to see value in yourself enough to say, I'm worth this.
Way more than that.
I'm worth this. I'm going to pay for this education because I want to be the best at whatever it is my trade is, the avenue that I want to go down. The opportunities are out there for you, but you have to invest in yourself.
So going a little bit on a more personal note, recently you lost Miss Fancy, your beloved Doberman. And something that a lot of us don't realize is that unfortunately one day we are going to lose a loved one, but we are funeral professionals. As a funeral professional, what is your advice in us setting our emotions to the side whenever we see a loved one? And was Fancy your first loved one? And if she wasn't, what was that first experience like for you? My first experience losing a loved one, I've lost a lot of people close to me in my life. So I've embalmed actually 2 of my best friends, and I've prepared another of one of my very, very close friends. And all my grandparents are gone, and I've worked on all but one. So I've cared for, most recently, my cousin, my 16-year-old cousin, passed away tragically in a car accident. I've taken care of a lot of loved ones in my family and friends, unfortunately. But losing Fancy, I would say, that hurt. Yeah, I'm getting emotional, but they're our family, right? Our pets are our family, and Fancy helped me in a time emotionally when I was going through a divorce. So she was like my little rock, and she died tragically. It wasn't like she wasn't old and we put her down. She died in a dogfight, and I was moving, and it was in this really difficult time in my life, but I was able to have this kind of makeshift service. It wasn't as beautiful as I feel like I could have done. I thought it was fantastic. Right? I thought it was great. It was really thrown together, which is what a lot of times we do. I think as families, it brought me back to like how families feel. Right. Because I didn't have help. I was the funeral director and the grieving person, and my family was trying to help, but they're not funeral directors. I know.
I got a lot of outpouring of support and online support from other funeral directors and friends and colleagues, which was great. But it was really challenging to move through that process. And it's coming up this actually in a couple of weeks that she's going to be gone a year now. So, so we actually, right before I came, we planted a tree. We planted some little trees for her there because from what I understand, when you have a natural burial or green burial, you have to wait like a year to plant on top of the grave, near the grave. So it's been about a year and we planted the new little trees and hopefully they'll sprout.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah. But I would say out of all the embalmings that I've done, that's
a tough one.
Yeah. I know it sounds weird.
And there really is no easy answer to that.
I know it sounds weird, but that really was probably for me. It was the most difficult because I didn't have anybody to call. Like when, my friend Laura died, I called my mentor, Rachel, and I was like, I need you to meet me at the funeral home. Like, I know what to do, but like, I needed her support. I needed her to say, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I would do, Monica.
Right.
When Fancy died, I didn't have anybody to call to say, oh, yeah, just inject her with this and put this here. And I didn't have that. So it was very lonely, I think. And I think a lot of pet parents experience that when there's a death.
Yes.
There's a loneliness that is, you can't explain it.
And the main question is how did you do that? How did you stay so strong? And because I watched your Instagram stories and I was like, gosh, like I have no idea how I'm going to set my own emotions aside to treat a loved one, let alone, this animal that's become a piece of you. Like how?
Yeah. Well, I have to say I have a really, really strong support system. My family is amazing. Like they put up with all my antics and they're like, okay, we're going to have a dog funeral. We're doing it.
This is the new thing.
We're doing it. We're digging a hole. And it was like, everyone was like, how do we do this? And I'm like, just calm down. Mm-hmm. We're going to do this. Like, it's not that big of a hole. It's like, my boyfriend was amazing. And he was a big part of the process of like helping me through that. My dad, my brother, my boyfriend, Jess, and we all dug the hole, like, started and went on the 7:00 at night once the sun went down and started digging and we all traded turns. And then my nephew Christian came and helped. And so I'm really fortunate. I have a really supportive big family. And so they all just went with it. They're like, okay, she's going to do it. Like this is what she's going to do.
It is what it is.
She's going to have this dog's funeral. And it's, they all loved Fancy too.
Of course.
And at first they kind of were like, okay, it's like overboard. But then when we had the funeral, it was like, wow.
This is great.
This is really healing because Fancy was a part of our whole family.
Absolutely.
And for my other dog, Cash, who was Fancy's like little baby, he was able to work through that too. And I think that's important to invite the other animals to the funeral service, and they were there. And you can see him in the video if you go back. You can see him kind of running around the grave, and he knows. He goes and sleeps out there every once in a while. I catch him out there, and he's like sleeping out there on the grave.
No.
Yeah, he does.
Aww.
Yep.
Aww. Well, congratulations on Next Gen Studio. What's next for it? Like, what's up and coming? What plans do you have?
Yeah, well, I can't reveal it all.
I know. Just a smidge. Just a smidge.
So with the studio, we are focusing more on these retreats. I feel like there's a need. I've had enough people say, yes, I want to do this. I can't do it right now, but yes, I want to do this. I feel like having these conversations with other funeral directors, traveling around the country, talking to other funeral directors, we're feeling it. We're feeling this heaviness after the pandemic. We're starting to experience physiological burnout. Yeah, it's happening. So I hope to be able to create more opportunities for people to gather and come to join me in Arizona to continue to learn and train in technical embalming, but also learn how to manage this type of lifestyle.
Yes.
Because I don't think that's ever been done before in the history of our profession. How do you manage this lifestyle, especially for women? Because we are mothers, we're daughters, we run the funeral home, we embalm, we do everything. And this profession is moving towards a large group of females.
Absolutely.
So we have to change the landscape in that sense of like, okay, that's how the guys did it, but we as mothers and sisters and daughters, we have to figure out a new way to do this and still be able to be there and be mothers and daughters and sisters and wives and all that,
and
right?
Stay sane.
And stay sane and still get our hair and nails done.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
We have to take care of ourselves.
I mean, we've got to wax here and there and all the things.
Yeah. So that's a part of the future that I see is wellness. I want to start focusing on mental health. I think it is way overdue. Now with the pandemic, it's right there in our face. Yes. We have to do it. We can't look back. We can only move forward. Mental health, fitness, back and leg strength. The bodies are getting bigger. Talked about that last year.
Obesity is up there.
The obesity epidemic is happening. We're in the middle of it. Bodies are getting bigger. As women, we are physically challenged in that sense, right? Yep. So we have to figure out physical fitness, how to keep our back and our legs, because most morticians I know have bad back.
Oh, yeah. And they call it the mortician's bad back.
Really? Oh, I never heard that, but it exists.
It exists. It exists.
So that's what I have in the future as far as the Cold Hands Death Education Center is concerned. Also, I'm opening up more programs to the public. I'm starting to invite dark tourists, anybody that wants to learn about our profession and what we do. I'm trying to create experiences that are unique for travelers who want to come and learn about what we do.
So name 3 or more reasons why Cold Hands accredited courses are important for new embalmers to consider.
Wow, 3 reasons.
3 reasons.
These courses are important, number 1, because you're not going to learn these techniques in mortuary college. They're important as a new embalmer if you want to make yourself marketable. Okay? The 3rd reason, for families.
Absolutely.
Do it for the sake of the families. You can't expect to go into a funeral home and have the 1 or 2 embalmers, that have been working at the same funeral home for 20 years teach you everything.
Exactly. Are there any financing options available to travel to Arizona for the Cold Hands Training Studio? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes. This is such a huge win for my business. I have worked for it's been going on 4 years trying to find a lender for my students because I hear that a lot. I want to take your courses, but I don't have the money. Yeah. And I remember what it's like being a student, Absolutely. I don't have the money. People are trying just right now to survive. Yep. So I'm like, I got to figure out a way for my students to be able to finance. So I've actually partnered with Lending USA, which is a very well-known company within the funeral industry. And they're trusted, and they have offered to finance my students for up to $10,000 per year for any program that they want to take at the Cold Hands Death Education Studio, whether it's online or in person. Perfect. And you get the money within 24 hours. It's amazing. It's a huge win. That's amazing. So last but not least, elaborate for us a little bit on why you founded the High Pressure Scholarship and how we can apply, and what is the scholarship deadline?
Ooh, all of that. First, I want to tell you where to find the information for the High Pressure Scholarship. This scholarship can be found on any of my social media. It's on my website. Primarily, though, the easiest way to find it is go to my link in bio, and you can click their scholarship. The scholarship was founded to overcome social and political barriers for women and transgender individuals in funeral service. This scholarship stemmed from an experience that I had online being cyberbullied. Most people do not know that women of color face the cyberbullying at a vastly larger rate than anyone else.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, we are targeted, women of color, in this area, cyberbullying.
It's very true.
There's a 90% chance that if you are a woman of color, that you will be cyberbullied at some point in your life. I've experienced it firsthand. I had a lot of people, even here today, that have come up to me and said, yeah, I saw that on social media. Yeah. It's a thing.
It's a real thing.
And
it's a real thing.
I've been able to maneuver through it, but I've been going through it for years. And I also, I had to seek an attorney. I've had a lot of battles with this in the background. I don't engage people online. If you notice
You
that.
can't. No, you can't.
I don't engage bullies. I don't give them that power.
They don't deserve it.
No, and they're not who are important to me. The people that are important to me are the people that are here today and the people that are supporting me. Those are the people that are important to me enough to engage with.
Yes.
Those are the people that I want to engage with online.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's why the scholarship was founded, because I knew that if I was being cyberbullied and I was being targeted, there's going to be other women like myself
course.
that are going to come along that maybe do not have a thick skin like I do, or maybe do not have the self-confidence or self-worth.
Right.
And it will discourage someone from being the best mortician they can be,
I know.
right? The best them.
Yeah.
So I said, no, I'm not doing that. Instead of engaging with these people and creating this snowball, I'm going to create a scholarship
Even better.
and give other women the opportunity to grow,
Absolutely.
so that it's not just one person they're attacking online. Pretty soon there's going to be hundreds of women
Oh, yeah.
because of my scholarship. And so that's why the scholarship is important to me. Being able to empower these young women that are coming through, giving them courage, giving them confidence, and also the transgender students that are coming through.
Absolutely.
They're cyberbullied too.
Absolutely.
And I don't want them to get left behind as well. So I open it up to them as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. You've answered my questions, and I hope you've answered all of the other questions that might be out here, maybe, possibly.
Yes.
But it's been an honor to be having this interview with you. It was a privilege. You inspire us way more than you imagine. You are an influencer, but in such a positive way. You're such a strong woman, and I look up to you way more than what you think.
Thank you, Beatriz. I really appreciate that. It's nice to hear. Thank you so much.
You're
Take it to
welcome.
heart. Very